Hello, students. Today I'll do Unit 3 of the essay Nonviolence by Aldous Huxley. I have given examples of the use of nonviolence in the relations of individuals with individuals and of whole population with governments. Now he's saying that already I have presented two examples to explain the concept of nonviolence. One is from the perspective of the relationship between individual and individual, and the second perspective is of the relationship between the entire population and government. It is now time to consider the use of nonviolence in the relations of governments with other governments. So, how mutually governments deal with each other with the help of or on the basis of nonviolence. This is what he's going to discuss now. Examples of nonviolence on the governmental level are seldom of a very heroic kind, and the motives actuating the parties concerned are seldom unmixed. So he says that it is really very rare to find the examples of using nonviolence on the governmental level. The tradition of politics is a thoroughly dishonorable tradition. So, if we consider the political traditions, we will find that they are quite dishonorable, not quite respected ones. The world sanctions two systems of morality, one for private individuals, another for national and other groups. So, there are dual standards. Okay, and how these dual standards of morality work, one standard is for the private life and the other is for the public life. Men who in private life are consistently honest, humane and considerate believe that when they are acting as the representatives of a group, they are justified in doing things which as individuals they know to be utterly disgraceful. So see how hypocrites we are. Now a person who is into politics, if he considers or if we actually observe his private life, we'll find that in his individual life, in his personal life, he is quite honest and very gentle and humane and considerate. But he is, that particular person is of the opinion that if he is acting as a representative of a particular group, then if he adopts dishonorable or disgraceful things, then he is totally justified in doing such things. But on the other side, when he is in his private life, there he will act naturally as an honest, humane, considerate person. So, this is how the behavior differs when a person acts in private life and when he acts in public. The nation is personified in our imaginations as a being superhuman in power and glory, but subhuman in morality. So, what is the picture of nation? Nation can be personified as a person who has superhuman powers and glory, but when it comes to morality, nation is subhuman. We never even expect it to behave in any but the most discreditable way. So he says that when it comes to the behavior of nation, we never expect nation to behave in a better way than in the dishonorable way for which it is known. So we will always see nation behaving in a very dishonorable way. This being so, we must not be surprised if examples of genuine non-violent behavior between governments are rare, except in the case of disputes involving matters so unimportant that the subhuman disputants don't feel it worth their while to fight. So he says that if we consider the entire situation as to how nonviolence is used when it comes to the relationship between governments and governments, so he says that we should not be surprised if the examples of true and genuine nonviolent behavior between governments are rare. We should not feel surprised at it because we know that things are so doubly meaned and people live by double standards when it comes to politics. He says that it is only except in the case of disputes involving matters that are so unimportant and so petty that the two parties, the disputants, the two governments which are actually involved in that particular matter, they don't even feel it worthwhile to fight over that particular matter. In that case only we can find examples of non-violence. These can generally be settled easily enough by means of existing machinery of conciliation. Now he says that these disputes can easily be set or settled down by the means of conciliation, that is agreement, mutual agreement. But wherever more important issues are at stake, national egotism is allowed free rein, and the machinery of conciliation is either not used at all or used only reluctantly and with manifest bad will. So he says that when the issues are related to self respect or some grave matter is there at risk, at that time the ego of both the countries or both the governments will definitely clash, and egotism will have an upper hand. And on the other hand, the machinery of conciliation, of coming to some mutual terms or agreement, a peaceful end of the clash or the issues. Now this kind of conciliation will either not be carried out at all, or it will only be made possible reluctantly, without any will, and with the clear bad intentions. Then only reconciliation would take place, when it is about grave matters or matters of real importance. This has been a long digression. So this has been a very quite a long deviation, but a necessary one. But this kind of deviation was quite necessary. Non-violence is so often regarded as impractical, or at best a method which only exceptional men and women can use, that it is essential to show first that even when used sporadically and unsystematically, as has been the case up till now, the method actually works. Now he says that non-violence is often regarded as something that is impractical. It is not considered to be a very practical device. Okay, it is considered to be rather an impractical device, and or maybe we can say that at best a method. It is considered as a method which only men and women of exceptional powers can use, and that it is essential to show first. What is essential before believing in the concept of non-violence is that even when non-violence, the principle of non-violence is used sporadically means in a not in an organized way or in a scattered way, and when it is unsystematically used, which is the case in most of the issues, that the weapon of non-violence or the machine or the device of non-violence is not used in an organized or systematic manner most of the time. But the reality is that even despite being used in an unorganized and unsystematic manner, still the method actually works. And second, that it can be used by quite ordinary people, and even on occasion by those morally subhuman beings, kings, politicians, diplomats, and the other representatives of national groups considered in their professional capacity. So he says that first thing to be proved regarding non-violence is that even if the weapon of non-violence is used in an unorganized and unsystematic manner, still it will work and it will prove to be successful. And the second thing that is required to be proved about non-violence is that it is such a device, such a tool which can be used not only by ordinary people, but even by kings, politicians, diplomats, and other representatives of the national groups when they are working in their professional capacity. For whatever designation, whatever party, in whatever capacity they are working, they can also use the weapon of non-violence. Out of business hours, these morally subhuman beings may live up to the most exacting ethical standards. So when these people, these politicians, diplomats, kings, when they are not in their professional capacity, or when they are not in their real form, when they are not in their offices, at that time they can live, or we can observe that they live their life in such a manner which match up with the ethical standards. So they follow a life of dual standards. They are different when they are acting in their individual life, and they are different when they are acting in their public life, when they are working as representatives of some party or some individual groups or some union. At that time they are an entirely different person. So here we see that in unit 3 he has talked about the use of non-violence as a device to sort out issues which occur between governments, different governments. So how these governments can sort out their mutual issues by using the weapon of non-violence. This is what Huxley has described in unit 3. So with this we come to the end of the explanation of unit 3 of the essay Non-Violence by Aldous Huxley. Thank you.